Hello and welcome to this week's episode of The Failure Effect, a show about reclaiming the word failure and turning it into success. My name is Wayua Muli. I am your host, and this week we're hosting someone who is used to being where I am. Her name is Hellen Ashiko Mbune. She's the host of a KBC show called The Dadas Show, and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Right, how are
Yeah.
you doing today?
I'm good. It's interesting being on this other side.
I can imagine.
It's actually a bit nerve-wracking. I'm like, oh, well, I'm having an out-of-body experience. I'm feeling, sorry and empathetic towards my guests. Now I'm like, is this how you guys feel? It's like free falling. Yeah.
Yes. No,
But thank you so much for having me, Wayua.
Karibu, karibu. Now, we're going to start right at the top. You are a single mother.
Yes.
How old is your son?
My son is going to be 17
Wow.
in August. So when I tell him you're 17, he keeps on telling me, no, I'm not 17. I'm yet to turn 17.
Yeah.
But I tell him you're 17, boss, just embrace it. Yeah. So he's turning 17 in August the 25th.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I mean, raising a child to that age is a feat.
Oh, yeah.
And now he's about to get independent, find his own place. Yeah.
We don't like those words.
Sorry.
Don't like those words.
But that's also the way your mom must have felt at some point because you were also raised by a single mom.
Yes, and we're the three of us. I'm the last born of a family of three. I have two elder brothers. And yes, my mother my mother is a single mother and she has been able to bring us to where we are. So it's interesting that you pointed out that that's the way I felt because I called her up. Right now, she's my go-to person for everything.
Yeah.
And I called her up the other day and I told her, Connie, these schools are not closing. I feel like these people keep on they're holding my child. Then she said, from an African woman, not very emotional. She said, now you know how I used to feel. I'm like, oh, that's how you used to feel. Okay. Sawa pole. But yeah, I guess you're right. That's the way she used to feel.
Okay. Yeah. Now, you're also a chef?
Yes.
Okay. What else do you do?
So let me correct that before people come, knives blazing. I am a self-taught chef. But of course, I do come from a family of chefs. My elder brother is a chef. My second-born brother is an apprentice chef. So we all cook. So by virtue of association, one way or another, you got into cooking. So yes, I'm a chef, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
And I do have two outfits. I have a Shiko's kitchen and I have the samosa chick. And of course, these are things I came to later on in life, but I've always cooked. I've always loved cooking. And whenever I would host or whenever I would, take some of the snacks, in Kenya, you have to look for a side hustle.
Yes.
So I would always carry my last employment. I used to take samosas, make little breakfast packs, with samosa, smokies and an egg, boiled egg. And they used to really sell. So guys were like, you know what, you really need to sell these things, stop usikalie talanta. That's what they used to say.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm a TV show host, a talk show host currently, but I've also done a travel show. Earlier on, it was called Zurura. My co-host and I were actually nominated for a Kalasha Award, for Best TV Show Host.
Yeah.
So that was a very big moment. Just the nomination for us was already such a victorious moment. So I think aside from that, I like to say that I'm a jack of a million trades. I wear so many hats.
Yeah.
So if tomorrow someone tells me you're a farmer, so I also do farm. I'm involved in export-import business, especially for basil. So I do many things.
Right.
Yeah.
That sounds like you have your core value is hard work.
Yes.
And where did you get that from?
That came from my mom. I have to give her all the credit. And of course, this is not something that the hard work, became inborn from the get-go. We'll get into that,
Yeah.
It was something that was forced out of me by necessity,
Okay.
So my mom, the thing that I really admire the most about my mom is this whole attitude for I can do many things is I completely copy-pasted from my mom. My mom is the kind of person who will, she was employed, she would be farming, and she kept on telling me, I am not one person, I'm not one thing. And you should not be one thing. And, she does not believe in, oh my God, you'll be just a wife, or you're just a mother, or you're just a worker. It says you exhaust your potential. You have to push until you can't push anymore. So my mom got into, she was employed. If there was an opportunity that came about and she thought it's something that's going to be beneficial to her and her family, she would jump head first. So she did make a couple of mistakes along the way, and it's something that we laugh at. But the fact that she always sprung up, it never put her down. She would try a stint in multi-level marketing.
Wow.
I joke around and I say there's no multi-level marketing that I'm not a member of, because she would join and she would add me as a distributor. And she did farming, she's still doing farming. So when the quail eggs, the funny thing is, when the quail eggs came up, she was among the first people.
Oh my goodness.
So mom didn't
Wow.
stop at anything. If she
Yeah.
hears that this is a venture, she will go at it. She opened a restaurant. She had
Wow.
a shop. She did a touring company. She had so many things. So it's very hard for me to sit and be content with, I'm a talk show host. I'm a salesperson. I'm a farmer. I can't do that.
Right.
I don't even think she would let me. She'd be like, no, you have to push yourself. So that's definitely where my work ethic has come from.
Right. So you mentioned a very interesting word there, salesperson.
Yes.
Yeah. And this is, I believe, because your life right now is very different from the way that it started
Absolutely.
out.
You have
Yeah.
no idea. Oh,
Because
sure.
you started in sales.
Yes, I did.
Right.
And I landed in sales by default, actually. By virtue of I can run my mouth. So I can be convincing. I can put in a good sentence together with proper English and proper tenses.
Right.
So in 2009, I believe, actually 2009 was somewhere hanging out with a few of my friends, and I met somebody who was, a very high profile in one of our key media houses. And I was just talking. I was doing me. So I was talking to him, and he said, "Have you ever tried doing sales?" And of course, now this is me. So I was just like, yo, I can sell ice to an Eskimo. What are you telling me about? And a couple of weeks later, he called me for an interview. And so when I get to the interview place, I'm seeing this, like 40, 50 people. I'm like, oh my God, I've made a mistake.
Oh.
I've made a mistake. What am I doing? Because that's not even what I studied in uni. So I'm thinking, oh God, what am I going to do? So I walk into the interview, and I think the whole thing I'm a charmer, and I know how to interact with people. I know how to read the non-verbals and the verbals. And so, of course, I did what I do best. I made them laugh. Asked me, when are you going to start? And of course, I throw in some witty comment like, this afternoon is good with me.
Yeah.
And they crack up, and that's how I got my first job. So I started selling media space. I did that for a couple of months. Then I moved into another media house.
Okay.
Did that for another couple of months to a year. Moved again. I'm what we call a media ... Those are the terms that we don't use.
Yes. Yeah.
And, since we are on the failure effect, that's some of the things, that was a very crucial place for me when I started, because I'd start a job and leave it. Start a job, leave it. I would look for excuses. If you've ever seen any of those memes where, you see someone in bed looking for an excuse not to go to work, that was me.
Right.
That was completely me. So after a while, because when I was looking for these jobs, I was looking for these jobs primarily so that I can get a paycheck at the end of the month. That was my motivation. So I really did not care too much. And please note, my failing at performing at this job was definitely not an indictment of how good the product was.
Right.
The products were fantastic, but I was just not there. I needed a paycheck. So I was very easily distracted by other things. Remember, I'm a young girl.
Yeah.
I was young at that point. So there's the partying, there's traveling, there's friends, there's going all over the place. And so at some point, you kind of feel like, hey, this job is messing up with my hanging
social
schedule.
life.
I can't deal. What is this business about waking up at 7 to go where? I just got home,
Yes.
So it was pretty much that. And so moving from place to place and job to job, and I did media for a couple of years. And then, of course, digital migration happened. And PS, I worked for the key media houses,
Right. Yeah.
but it sort of looked like a vicious cycle. There's something in psychology known as conditional thinking. Is it conditioning thinking? Something of the sort, where you sort of psych your brain, tell your brain by this time, like, this is something that has to happen. See, when I was growing up, I used to tell myself that someone has to be beaten by a snake.
Okay.
Because we grew up somewhere there's a lot of grass. So
Right.
tell yourself that is something that has to happen, you know? So I used to tell myself, December, I'm just going to get fired, you know, or I'll lose the job or I'll quit.
Okay.
And sure enough, the tongue is a very powerful tool.
Yes.
So that's the message. And everything that I was doing would be directed towards that. So most December, and plus, December is a time for hanging out. So I'm just like, it's cool, I'll be fine. Now, what pushed this particular behavior is because I would never stay too long without getting a job. I've never stayed for more than a month without getting a job. I keep telling people I'm an expert interviewee.
Right. That's
If
your
there are
key
those,
skill.
yes. If there are those YouTube videos that people need to you know, how to answer the questions for what are your weaknesses and what are this and what are your strengths and where do you see yourself in 5 years?
That's you. You
I
got
have that in the bag completely. It didn't matter. It was just going to be different outfit, different audience, same script.
Yeah.
So I have gotten most of the jobs that I actually applied for. And so between jobs, I never really sat down to introspect. What could be the root, you know, a root reason as to why I'm caught up in this vicious cycle? What is it about me? Why can't I maintain a job? I mean, was it bugging me? Yes, it was.
Yeah.
The inconsistency can drive you crazy, you know. And I'd have clients, and you're calling a client, and you're like, "Hello, so by this product I'm dealing with." They say, "Oh, Habaria, where you are? I'm no longer there, by the way." And you could feel people just completely, you know, they're just like, "This chick."
Oh, we're not sure.
I sent my CV to somebody, and someone was like, you see, out of those 10 jobs you've posted, can you just pick 4? Me, in my mind, I'm sure that, by the way, you know, I have experience of job, you know, because I moved from media, I've done software, I've done insurance, I've done FMCG, I've been those people who are selling umbrellas in industrial area. There's nothing I've not done. Now, part of the downside is, you know, nobody takes you seriously.
Right.
And you can see people sort of give up on you, or people sort of just brushing you off. This person is not serious. This person is not serious. And of course, that does play a role in how you view yourself, you know, and what your purpose is.
Right.
So that was the history behind. Now, for me, that I believe that those are some of the turning points to where I am right now. I remember having a boss, and she told me, "Ashiko, you're one of the most brilliant people I have ever met, but you're one of the most unreliable human beings I have ever met." That thing gutted me. Yeah. Because, you know, you're like, really? But they said, you know, the problem is we'll give you a task, you'll be able to undertake it, you'll do it excellent. Shida ni, hatujui kaa kesho utakuja.
Oh, my goodness.
You know, and to have someone mirror that, you see, most of the time, you see the person who's just, you know, misbehaving in the office. People really don't say, but someone just looked at me and just told me, I mean, you're good, and said, all of that skill is really not useful if you're not dependable, if you're not reliable. Yeah. So it's just a complete waste. I think I went home, I bawled my eyes out because I was like, where? Wow. And so reality starts dawning that, okay, but what is it? What is it that is making me I could not explain. I'd get into a job, I'd leave. I'd get it. Seldomly was I fired. Right. I'd leave. You know, but I would always have the knack of knowing I'm in trouble. You know, 2-3 warning letters later, you're like, I'm about to be given the boot. Yeah. So I'd leave. So in 2017, I lost my best friend. Okay. And the realities of life, you know, and she died at 29. Wow. So that's someone who's very, very young. Yeah. So life hits you very differently after you've lost somebody that close. Yeah. I mean, I have experienced a number of traumas in my life, but I think they were always being held up by a wall. And I'm very good at wearing the mask and making people see what they want to see. And so that broke me. Completely broke me.
What were the symptoms of you being broken? Like what did you go through in the aftermath of her death?
Oh, my typical ones. You know, I drank.
Okay.
You know, drunk yourself into, because there's no realities of everything that are happening, because the things that you have not processed. And I feel like sometimes people are not cognizant of when people are giving out a cry for help.
Yes.
I mean, granted, people are going to say, you know what, everybody's dealing with their own stuff. So it's not like we're going to walk around with an emotional detector to know that Ashiko is going through stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and I thank God because somebody did see through all of that. So I would drink myself into a stupor. I even went to the office and I asked them, why don't you guys just fire me? You know, just get rid of me. And I had somebody in the office, you know, I had a lady that I used to report to, and she had my back. And, you know, I think she saw me.
Yeah.
She really saw me.
Yeah.
She didn't see what people want to see. You know, oh yeah, you know, loud, happy. She saw through the facade that I was putting across. But I don't think there's anything much she could do at that time. And one time, you know, it was very bad that now this person saw through that. And I had a nervous breakdown and I ended up in hospital.
Okay.
Whew, and I've never shared this one. Oh, good. Here comes all the judgment.
No.
So I ended up in hospital and I was diagnosed. And I was so grateful for this person because this person did not have to.
Okay. Explain exactly what happened with this person.
So what happened is, you know, when you're hanging out with somebody and you're drinking, and most probably, you know, you've just been hanging out for a couple of days, you know, you've been doing it, and he could see that I'm definitely not okay. You know, and I was very angry. I was so angry. I was angry at everyone and everything.
Right.
And I would snap in an instant. And I believe at some point he tells me that I was actually having a conversation with somebody who's passed away now, who was my friend.
At the point where you had the nervous
Yes,
breakdown.
yeah.
that got you
So,
in
and
hospital.
at that point, so these are things that, you know, I mean, don't remember.
Right.
I mean, for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
So he took me to hospital. So he took me to, you know, a good hospital, and I actually had to be, you know, sedated. And, you know, but very few people know about this story. So I
Right.
had to be sedated. And this was right before Christmas. So I couldn't even have the nerve to tell my mom. You know, I
Right.
couldn't even send her a message because I had been going down this rabbit hole for a while. And so many people have sort of, you know, already, you know, written me off at that point.
Okay.
You know, she's not going to amount to anything. And this, you know, this doesn't start from the workplace. And this is why it's so important for people to be cognizant of what they tell their children, what teachers tell their pupils. You know, as long as it's a young mind is a sponge. So when you're in school and you're constantly being told you're never going to amount to anything, you're never going to amount to anything. So all of that sits in.
Okay.
And so as you grow up, so I was just playing out everything that I had been told is my destiny. So I end up in hospital. I've been admitted. I finally wake up, and the first thing I'm thinking is, oh my God, who's going to pay this bill?
Right.
And I'm told that the gentleman who brought me, one of my very, very good friends, had already sorted the bill.
Wow.
And I had never seen kindness like that.
Yeah.
I had never really seen anybody go out of their way to jump in and be there for me. He didn't have to.
Yeah.
He really didn't have to, you know. And at that time is when the psychiatrist came around, is when they said, you know what? You have severe depression.
Okay.
It's one of the most elating, and I know this is a very juxtaposed feeling.
Yeah.
It's one of the most elating feelings on earth to know where
this is my
I'm
problem.
not crazy.
Yeah.
I am not crazy. I can pinpoint and say that this happened and this happened and this happened for a reason. And of course, now right after that, I got into therapy. And I started working on my childhood trauma. I started working on, you know, just various things. And we don't know. We don't have the capacity to understand how many adults are walking around with childhood trauma. You know, it could be sexual abuse, it could be physical abuse, it could be bullying, it could be rejection. There are myriad of things, and we can't even acknowledge how they play out in our day-to-day routines. You walk around thinking that you're fine, but then you overreact to something small. You walk around, you get into a relationship, and you're extremely clingy. Most of the time, if you cannot pinpoint why was I behaving the way I was behaving, you may need to go back, way back. And that's what I did. And I had to dig deep, and it's hard and it's painful. And you have to dig deep as to what is the root cause of why I do the things I do. How do I do the things I do? What is this, the need to be accepted, the need for validation? Why do I need? Because half of the time when I was, missing out on work, it would be because somebody has said, let's go to Naivasha. What is my need? Why do I need to be validated? Why do I need to be accepted? What is this gaping hole that I have that makes me go down some, do some things that completely compromise who I am? Who am I? Because, I used to say this and I would say it proudly, but right now I'm just like, okay, that may not be okay. I used to tell people I'm an amoeba. So whatever situation you put me in, I will morph into it. And then, of course, that comes from my personality. That comes from the fact that I have an acting background. That comes from the fact, there's so many things that would make. So I would join this clique and I would morph.
To fit in.
Yeah, to fit in.
Yeah.
So what is this need? Why do I need to be loved? Why do I need to be accepted? Why isn't building myself a priority? And it should be. So when I started going for therapies, when I actually realized, okay, so even the unreliability, even the vicious cycle, even the lack of focus, those were all pegged on my condition. And it was a thing that was going on for a while.
Right.
So the weirdest thing about it is, so when I go back to work, yes, incidentally, last employment still not fired me. That woman loved me.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, still not fired me. And when I went back to work, and this is now in 2018, I was like, you know what? I'm going to give this a shot. But remember, for you to actually be able to be productive, you actually have to want to be there.
This is true. Wait, what job was this?
Now, this one, no, remember, I've shifted from media.
Yeah.
I told you I've sold insurance,
Yes.
everything.
Yeah.
So now here I was actually doing, wealth management.
Oh, wow.
And the weirdest thing about wealth management is I was selling, a lot of water and chugging a lot of wine,
Yeah.
Because I didn't believe, of course, these things work. Please don't quote me. These things work, but I really didn't believe in that.
Okay.
Because if you look back, there was nowhere where I was putting, a nest egg. I wasn't saving, the money. You're going, you're blowing it, you're doing ABCD, So I was in a wealth management firm, which, you just you're a salesperson. Once you're a salesperson, understand the market, understand the product, go for it.
And then, but you're not embodying the lifestyle.
But I'm not embodying the lifestyle. I don't particularly believe in the product. I don't even know. But of course, I'm reading from a script.
Yeah.
And now the weirdest thing in 2018. So the company closes down.
Okay.
And I remember thinking, come on, I was trying to be nice. I was really, really trying. And then plus you guys didn't give me a heads up so that I can jump ship. I was really, really trying to be nice. So this is starting work in 2009. And this is a clean 10 years later.
Wow.
I have nothing to show for it.
Okay.
I do not have an asset.
Yeah.
Whether depreciating or otherwise, that I can sit down and say, this is mine.
Right.
Still living from hand to mouth. Embodying a lifestyle that really isn't even mine. And so I find myself jobless, broke, and I had to tuck my tail between my legs and move back home.
With your mom?
Yes.
Okay.
Anybody who's ever moved back home knows how you feel little.
Yeah.
You feel so small.
Yeah.
You feel so insignificant.
Yeah.
And so I moved back home. And I moved back home, and now you're back to under the roof, and you gotta play by the rules. And
you have to be a nice girl.
you're fighting everything. It's just like, oh my God, I can't do this. I can't do this.
Yeah.
And so here I am, and I'm working there, and I'm thinking, I'm at home, I am jobless, I am, I don't have a house, so my son and I are back with my mom. And of course, my mom, being, right now she's a counselor, among the many hats that she wears, she'd want, to ask you, so what's your plan? What are you going to do? And at that point, I'm blank.
Right.
Because when we started therapy, you kind of think that it's going to be fix it immediately.
Yeah.
Despite the number of times that your therapist tells you that this is a continuous process, you are sure.
Yeah. You're going to walk out that door
and
perfect.
I'll be healed.
Yes.
So now I'm like, here's another challenge. It's come and slapped me sideways.
Right.
And I'm like, so what do I do? This is another failure that I've added into the book. And there was a time I kept on thinking, and I used this statement a couple of times where I used to sit and think, why? I kind of feel like I'm the benchmark of problems, like, this is who I am. And I hated it.
Right.
So here we go, and it's the end of the year, and I don't know what to do. But now I also do have a little bit of awareness about me, about where I'm at.
Yeah.
So I'm in the process of getting to know myself, getting to love myself, getting to know my worth. And so my mother asks me, so are you going to look for another job? And I said, I can look for another job, but in my mind, I'm just like, then I fall back into the same cycle. Because the more you used to feel inadequate, the more you would fall into bad habits.
Right.
You know, you do feel like you're not worth it. And I wanted to surround myself with something that's going to make me happy. Now, all along, I have always cooked. Everybody knows I cook.
Yeah.
And I'd always toyed around with the idea of doing meal plans for my single friends.
Yes.
You know, just doing meals for the whole week and taking it to them. Most of the time, every time that I used to be jobless, I used to think I really need to pursue this. Down to even writing down, a few pointers here. And then now, of course, there's the fear of failure.
Yeah.
And, you really don't have any confidence in yourself. I'm like, boss, who am I lying to? I'm not an entrepreneur. I'd even sit down and say, you know what? I'm an implementer.
Yeah.
I don't come up with ideas. Give me your idea. I'm going to implement that.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know how limiting that was, even to my own psyche.
Yeah.
So here I am. I have a different space in my mind. And I'm like, I'm definitely not going to get employed right now. So what I'll do is I'm going to try. And I sat down in my mother's kitchen table. And I said, I'm going to start a catering business and it's going to be called Ashiko's Kitchen. And I keep telling everybody, I started with a negative 150 shillings.
Wow.
Negative 150, Bob. Because I had to borrow, I had to ask my brother to send me data. So I wrote a long post on Facebook and I said, you know what, guys, I've hung up my corporate heels. I'm going to try and pursue my passion because over time I came and discovered, I'm a creative.
Yeah.
I really am a creative. If you don't engage my mind, if what I'm doing doesn't feel like it's a hug to my soul, then you're going to lose me very, very quickly. And so that's what happened. So I posted, and unlike most people, and that's why I say it's very hard for me to talk about my journey without bringing a little bit of spirituality into it. God was very, very good to me.
Right.
Most businesses start and they take a few, months to pick up. I started and my business picked up immediately.
Wow. But wait, you're negative 150. Where did you get the money for the inputs? Because you need ingredients,
No,
right?
my mom, you see, of course, now I'm starting. And then, the best thing about it is sometimes it's getting in my wide circle. I don't want to say of friends. I say of acquaintances.
Yeah.
Because as you keep growing, you come and find out, okay, perhaps. So in my wide circle, there were people who saw me.
Yeah.
And people understood what I was trying to do. And, I can name them by names, but I do not want to molika them and then caterer to be set that direction. Okay. So there were people who were very supportive and they asked me, so what do you need? I said, I'm going to start. And I think this is even lesson to anybody who wants to start doing any business is start with what you got.
Yeah. Yeah.
I sit and I look at, I made a business plan and I sit and I look at my business plan right now and I laugh. I have a good 5 laughs. And I was like, what was I thinking?
Yeah.
I had some grandiose plans. And then ukifika kwa ground unaona, things are very, very different here.
Yeah.
And so I was lucky. I got 2 people who chimed in some money. My mother also played a very big role because we're talking about cooking.
Yeah.
So we have a kitchen. Tuko na moto. And I started. And when I started, it was a team of Mansolo.
Okay.
So when I started, I was a salesperson, I was a procurement person, I was a delivery person, I was logistics, I was everything. I was production, I was everything.
Wow.
I was myself.
Yeah. And
I had very many moments of doubting myself. Like, you know what? I'm the kind of person, I'd gotten into zombie mode for the past decade, And there's something that Robert Kiyosaki says, which is workers work hard enough, so that they can get paid, and employers, pay just enough so that the guys don't quit.
Yes.
And that's a mentality that we have here.
Yeah.
So we are all on zombie mode. Wake up, go to work, do the bare minimum so that you're not fired. So now here I am. I don't have anybody who's paying me. I don't have anybody who's backing down my throat. I don't have anyone who's asking me why you're not at work. And I really had I got scared. I had a full-blown panic attack, and I'm like,
Wow.
what am I doing? And this is coming at a very crucial time because I've already gotten orders.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm having complete panic mode. And I'm like, this is my first order. I don't know what I'm going to do. Why, growing up being told, you're not going to amount to anything. You're not going to do this. You're not going to do this. You're not going to do this. You're just like, did I bite off more than I can chew? Why couldn't I just stay in my lane?
Yeah.
Which is a puppet. And so anyway, I didn't have a choice. I had to overcome that bump. And I was able, and I remember the first time I made the food and I was so nervous and I did not know where containers are gotten. I did not know. I don't have a car, so I don't know how I'm going to transport. Nilibebana na chakula za watu kwa matatu.
Oh.
And these are 15 meals.
Wow.
These are 15 meals because we're doing 3 meals a day for 5 days.
Yeah.
So these are 15 meals. So everything is individual because you have your starch, you've got your protein, and you've got your veggie. And the containers are like this big. And so I've put them in these bags for Quick Mart, for Carrefour. And, because of the weight, the first time, some of them are just getting pressed under and the soup is pouring. And there's someone in the matter to say, kwani kuna mtu amebeba chakula huku, making a mess on people's chairs. And that time I'm going to deliver the food hasn't even figured halfway. I don't know the exact location. I was a mess.
Oh my goodness.
Let's even backtrack a little bit. By the time I was getting the ingredients, the meat and all of that, my mom and her, you got to do this, you got to do that. Told me, you have to go to the market. Lazima uende soko ya Kiserian.
And to go and get
get meat, to go and get whatever. I'm like,
yeah.
And then that's really my pace. Zucchini? Perhaps. So there I am with gum food, in Kiserian. And I'd walk in and they say, go. I'm like, oh God. And I'm smack in the middle of the slaughterhouse,
Yes.
And I'm just thinking, these people are going to steal me.
Yes.
And, those are one of the learning points. And it's so difficult. But of course, you have to fess up and say, you know what? I decided I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
So I'm there and I'm, haggling with people. Nipatie nyama yangu. And then after that, I reached the corner. I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God. I can't. This life is just not for me. And so I continue. And I continue. And I've gone to deliver food to people's houses. And you're getting, of course, and I'm over there with my 2 bags, Get to a point and the gate and the watchman was like, unaenda wapi? Huku hakuna hawking. Boss, when did I get here?
Oh my God.
I was taking trips.
Yeah.
I've got expensive hair and expensive nails and a nice life. When did I get here? How life can just do a complete 360 and find you on your bottom. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
So there I was. But I'll have to tell you something where you are. The 10 years working, compared to the 1 year before things went topsy-turvy again. The amount of knowledge and the amount of self-actualization and self-awareness that I got, you cannot compare.
Yeah.
What I learned in that year really goes down to how much passion is important.
Yes.
I would wake up at 4 a.m. in the morning and I would not have the alarm set.
Wow.
And I'd go to the markets. I don't have the luxuries, car, whatever. No, matatu.
Okay.
Whether it's raining, whether it's shining, whichever. And I'd go and and there were moments that I would physically, my brain was so happy, my spirit was so happy, my body was physically breaking down.
Right.
Because this kind of physical assertion, I've never done that before.
Yeah.
It's behind the desk kind of situation. If you need to go somewhere, you're driven, Uber, whatever. And so here I am, but there was a satisfaction. Oh, Lord.
Yeah.
There was a satisfaction that I had never experienced before. Because I've been living people's narrative, what they say about me. But here I am, and I'm living my story.
Yes.
They said I could not be able to do it, and here I am, I'm doing it. And you have to sit back and say, wait a minute, what's happening? What's happening? And I got my first payment.
Oh, wow.
I got my first payment, and I'll remember this is even before the food, and I had delivered some juice and some moses, and I was delivering to the hub.
Wow.
Yeah, no, not the hub. Someone was meeting me at the hub.
Okay, okay. I was
But it
like,
was,
hey.
0 to 100,
I know.
perhaps.
Uh-huh.
So I was delivering to a lady who was meeting a good friend of mine, one of the people who really supported me. She said, "Oh, are you doing okay? I need some snacks for Christmas and stuff like that." And I said, "Okay, fine, then I'll do that for you." And I got for her, made for her some fresh juice and some samosas, just something. Everything was coming to a total of about 1,200.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to make the delivery with my son.
Mm-hmm.
My first monies I made did not leave the hub.
It was.
We blew it there. Everything. We blew everything.
Uh-huh.
We went to KFC. I told my son, have pewa. What do you want?
Yeah.
You know, but it was the first money as I was holding, and
Yeah.
it was money that was coming from my sweat. I was not accustomed to that.
Yeah.
You know, I had the imposter syndrome when I was working through it
Mhm.
because I'm just like, I don't deserve this. I don't deserve this money.
Mhm.
So anyway, fast forward, I did that for about a year. And then because life is just life,
Uh-huh.
COVID happened.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
of course. Uh-huh.
So COVID happened,
Mhm.
and they start announcing that no social gatherings, no
Yes.
this. I mean, heck, as much as we were all scared, you know, the eateries, the caterers, so all of us guys really, really, you know, and I think that was, you know, with the way we play Onyiro 1, Onyiro 2,
Yeah.
that was my Onyiro 2.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, where do I start?
Mm-hmm.
The thing about the business is when small, and most small business owners and entrepreneurs will know, is you get a lot of money, but you get small amounts throughout.
Yes.
You don't get a lump sum.
Mhm.
And whatever you're getting, you have to sort out your overheads.
Mhm.
So when you're starting off, you know, the only thing that rewards you is the passion, and you know how much I'm loving, and you know self-growth.
Yeah.
So you give yourself, at least most people talk about, you give yourself at least 6 months, depending
Mhm.
on the size of the establishment you're building.
Yeah.
You know, and so here I am. I can survive,
Yeah.
but I'm not comfortable.
Yeah.
I'm not pandemic ready. I know
Yeah.
very many people were not pandemic ready, but me,
True.
I was definitely not pandemic ready completely, you know, because this is my lifeline. So you're getting little amounts of money, you're taking care of school fees, you're taking care of this, you're taking care of your child, you know, you're paying a few bills off here, you know, but you need it, you know, it's very sustainable and it was very engaging. And I was even surprised at myself
Mhm.
because getting me to make those sales phone calls used to be such a headache, you know.
Right.
I mean, I have all the rebuttals, but this one I would call, and anybody who's most probably watching this has most probably gotten a message from me. You have gotten a message from me.
Oh,
Hello,
yes.
are we doing samosas this week? I mean, there was no deterring my determination.
Yeah.
There's nothing you're going to tell me that I've not had before.
Mhm. Mhm.
So there I am, and COVID happens, and I'm just thinking, okay, what am I going to do? At this point, I've already been able to afford to even move out of my mother's house. So
Right.
my son and I have moved out.
Off
We
of the
have
food business alone.
yes, from the food business
Wow.
alone.
Okay. Okay.
So I've been able to move out, and I'm just like, isn't this karma? Because I'm like, oh, I really enjoyed from the get-go. The business picked up. I would get orders every other week. I was even able to morph
Mhm.
from just doing weekly meal plans to catering events. So I
Wow.
would be called, I'd be told, come and do a baby shower, come and do this. I mean, I have to give such a huge appreciation to girls of my former high school, you know,
Mhm.
Limuru Girls High School. I mean, these ladies came through for me like there's no other.
Right.
You know, so people would always call me, come for this catering gig, come and do this. Former colleagues would call me. And, you know, let me point out something that I really hate the notion that people perpetuate about women being our own worst enemies.
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
I hate that.
Yes.
And this is not coming from the point that I host a female talk show.
Mhm.
This is coming from the point that it is complete hogwash.
Absolutely.
We may differ in opinion, we may differ in lifestyle, in character, in fundamentals. If I dislike you, I don't dislike you because you're a woman.
Mhm.
I dislike you because I don't like, you know,
Yeah,
stuff
something-
about you.
Yes.
It does not have anything to do with you being female biologically.
Yes.
And I think the generation of women that we're bringing up need to know that.
Yes.
We need to grow up and know how to adjust each other's crowns and not bring each other down. And if there's a moment that was ever evident for me, was when I started my business.
Mhm.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the dudes.
Yeah.
But I'm saying all these dudes who wanted to buy me planes,
Uh-huh.
all those dudes who wanted to take me to places.
Uh-huh. They were
No. They pulled a Houdini completely. You know, now you see me, now you don't. But the women,
Yeah.
the women came through tenfold. You know, I can name names. This is Kiari. I can name names. You know, and I'm like, this chicks, yani, they would order, you know, even when I'm having my hiccups, because saa zingine ningeenda samosa ziharibike. And I have to go back home with them.
Yeah.
And you're having those ones saying, yeah, you know something, Chime, I know you've jaribu there.
Yeah.
These chicks had my back.
Yeah.
From high school, friends, acquaintances, you know, someone who's just ordering because they know you're doing this job.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that is where, I mean, so it's, you know, I was just like, you know what, this is it. This is it. And that's a notion that I really want to push. You know, leave that story about, no. Let's not even bother with being envious of each other. Because if you were to walk a mile in my show, I'm sure people would watch this and be shocked. They'll be like, I thought her life was easy. Yo.
It's not.
It's not been. It's been difficult.
Yeah.
You cannot walk a mile in somebody else's shoe. My mother says something that I love. She says, utaenda kwa soko na shida zako, ukitaka kuziuza utarudi nazo nyumbani. Kwa sababu kila mtu ako na shida zake.
By the way.
You know?
Yeah.
So over time, women really, really helped me. I would have someone who used to order weekly. And she's ordering for 5 liters of juice. And I know that it's not Ishat.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I have to say. Mercy, thank you so much.
Oh.
And she would order every week 5 liters of juice and 20 samosas, 5 liters of juice and 20 samosas. It was like clockwork.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes she'd be like, can I just pay you for the whole month?
Oh.
And she just, you know, and I know that 5 liters has not ended, but she'd just be like, let me support you. Let me support you. These are the people who I really, really, really owe a huge debt of gratitude to. Yeah.
Right. So how did you get through the pandemic period then?
Yeah. So now after Onyuro 1 and I got into, you know, I got a little bit depressed again.
Okay.
People keep on thinking that it's something that you can snap out of.
Yeah.
Is because depression takes you to the lowest low. You know, once you've already hit a certain place, it's very easy for you to go back there.
Yeah.
Because here I am, the schools have been closed. I'm a single mom. Schools have been closed. My child is home. I have no money. We don't know what we're going to feed each other. Electricity ndo hiyo inakuangalia hivi.
Yeah.
Gas is looking for you.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it was difficult. And so I'm getting assistance from my mom because people are not ordering for food.
Yeah.
You know, there's, for lack of a better word, a gag order on anything culinary based.
Yes. Yes.
So there's really nothing for you to do.
Yeah.
You know? And you're also scared for your own safety. So it's not so much that if you get a gig, you'll take it. There's so many precautions that have to be put in place.
Yeah.
And I had to turn inward. You know, you do a lot of journaling, you do a lot of introspection, I did a lot of focusing on the year that has been. And I said, you know what? There's been so much growth. I've already done this. You know, of course, the naysayers, those guys never go anywhere. They're like, sasa ulikuwa unafikiri we ni mtu wa biashara, we si mtu wa biashara. And that's the thing. They don't care about the progress that you're making or how far you've come.
Yeah.
Even though you were a different person back then and you're trying to turn over a new leaf, there's always going to be individuals who will be so keen at reminding you.
And pulling you right
and
back.
Pulling you right
place.
back. Yeah. And they were almost successful. But we really do, you know, our maker never forgets us. And one day I get a message from Mr. Nicholas Wangondo on Facebook. And he tells me, he says, hello, we had been in communication prior to that, but it was mostly about cooking. And he was asking if I can go and assist in a kitchen that he's setting up and stuff like that. I said, right now I cannot be able to do. I want to focus. I don't want to be employed anymore. I want to focus on this. And says, hello again. He asked me, have you ever thought of hosting, of being on TV?
And I can see why, because my goodness, I've checked and I've got tears in my eyes.
Oh, no. I'm hilarious. I'm hilarious. Nobody can tell me that. Those are things I know. That I know.
Right.
So Nick Wangondo gets in touch with me and tells me, you know, we're coming up with a concept. It's going to be a show. It's going to be a travel show. And, you know, I've been following you on Facebook. I see how you talk. I see how you articulate yourself, you know, talk for lack of a better word, because I don't do the videos and stuff like that. And I think you'd be a good fit.
And what is Mr. Nicholas Wangondo?
So Mr. Nicholas Wangondo actually was Kenyan's Big Brother Big Brother representative.
Okay.
Let's just start from there. He was also, he's a celebrity, by the way. My guy is a celebrity, Kabisa. He was on Mashariki Mix.
Right.
He was on Travel Diaries. And the interesting about it is I remember watching him with Eve D'Souza doing Travel Diaries. And I remember getting green with envy, like, who gets paid
Yeah.
to travel? It's not even a job.
Yeah.
You know, and and I think sometimes it's important to put your wishes and you just send them to the universe or to your maker, and somehow they will actually happen. And so this is the same guy who's sending me a message, and I'm just like, And we did an interview where he said, I know she thought I was hitting on her. To be honest, I kind of did.
Yeah.
So I took a while before, but I responded eventually and said, oh, by the way, we need to schedule a sit down between myself and the producer of the show, and we see if you're going to be a good fit. And say, fantastic, that is good. Awesome.
Yani, this gig has landed just because
Like
you've been being
that.
yourself. Because
For
you've been
being myself. You know,
Yes.
the same self that is always being bashed and said,
Yeah.
oh my God, you're too much, you're dramatic, you're
Yeah.
this, tone it down.
Yeah.
I was like, where? It's about time.
Yes.
It's about time. Because the thing about it, all along my career, in selling media, I had gotten so many times where people would be like, you know what, you need to be on radio. You need to be on radio. You need to be on radio. I never tried that. I never did. I never felt like I was good enough. I used to say, me, my stories are good. Me, my stories are for the bar.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Zangu ni za hapa. Tumeketi chini, we're having 1, 2, 3. Those are my stories. I'm not going to be able to find something to talk about for an hour. And it was so much so that even the late Bruce Odhiambo kept on pushing me, and he pushed me and he would tell me, you know what? You really have something here, by the way. You need to pursue that. When I was in Royal Media Services, when I started off in 2009, which is where I started off, the late Catherine Kasavuli called myself and Bernard Dong for a screen test.
Okay.
And Bernard got it. And that's why he's the amazing person. I mean, sometimes I know he won't give, he won't say anything, but me, I have to pokes on that. And I'm just like, I was there when the legend was being made. Yay! I was there, So I was there. So he was picked, I wasn't. And of course, the fear of failure plays back again. And I was not about to go and try that again because it was a gut feeling. You feel like someone has punched you in the gut.
Yeah.
Because it's something that I always wanted to do.
Right.
I always wanted to do. I mean, I can run my mouth. I always wanted to do something on media, TV, radio, whatever. So, we had, and by virtue, and may her soul rest in eternal peace, by virtue of the fact that she had seen something.
Yeah.
That thing still chokes me up. I didn't follow through, but I wish we would have had a moment where I am right now at KBC to interact. And I'd have told her, you set this spark. You got this going over 10 years ago.
Wow.
So thank you for that. And the thing about it is, so there was Catherine who called me for the screen test. I didn't get in, but I gave up on that. Then there was the late Bruce Odhiambo, who would constantly keep on telling me, you need to be doing these things. You need to be doing these things. And I just didn't feel like I was good enough because I was like the kind of level of the people you people deal with and little old me. And that's where self-worth always plays.
Yes.
So little old me, I can't equate to all of that. And then there was also now the likes of Jimmy Gathu, who is a very, very good, very personal friend of mine who's always been edging me forward. Just like, you need to do this. You can be able to do this. You've gone through so much. You can be able to last. Those are some of the people that I'm very proud to say that these are some of the individuals who molded me to where I am.
Right.
And there's no stopping this train,
Amen.
So here I am, and Nick has called me, and he's told me, and we go and we meet, and we sit down, and we had a meeting at Art Cafe in Lavington, and we sit down, and remember, this is coffee time. I've been broke, my friend. I even had to borrow fare to get there.
Wow.
Friend, and I kept on hoping that these are not those people who ask me to order for food, and then they say that.
Yes.
I'm like, you see the way my money is wired, is my bank account is set up. These are not my nene, So we sit down and they introduce this concept of a show called Zurura. And I said, first of all, stop right there. That's me.
Yeah.
That's just me.
Yeah.
Even you guys know that's just me.
Yeah.
Because me, I'm the person for laps. You know me, I'm everywhere, everywhere, everywhere. So of course they do what you're doing right now. They crack up during the day and I think you're perfect for it. Oh my God, Ashiko. That's now Rosemary Bell, who's the producer. She's like, oh my God, it's gonna be so much fun. I think you're perfect for it. We just need to pitch you to our sponsors to see if they're good. You need to go and get headshots. Do I know what headshots are? No.
Uh,
I don't know what headshots are, but it was a fantastic medicine. Just organize yourself, go to a studio, get the headshots done. And I go to the studio and, still the same thing. People who pushed me. So someone tells me, you know what, I'm going to sponsor this one. You go to this particular headshots, this particular studio. Because if you want the best, Helen, you got to do the best.
Yes.
Go to that studio. I go to the studio and it's a very expensive studio and he covers those charges.
Wow.
And I'm like, God sends angels dressed in very many different ways.
Yes.
And I remember being told to pose with lights like this ones, and you see, and I'm just like, everything I'm most interested in is I need to suck in my gut. Like I need to find an angle, and I'm thinking of Akina Kate Moss and how they conjure their bodies, and the cameraman was like, "Are you okay? Like, are you in pain?" I'm like, "What? I'm doing couture. Isn't this like couture?" So I'm like, "What is wrong with you guys? I'm trying to be a model here." They're like, "Just relax, do you?" So I was folding myself in bodies, trying to contort myself to look like Kate Moss and suck in my gut while I'm at it.
Yeah.
And so that was it. So I do the pictures came out amazing. I was happy with them. I sent them to, of course, now the director of the show says, we'll get back to you. Eventually, when the guys of the show do, the sponsors of the show, if they like it.
Yeah.
And of course, there's the whole thing. So the fear creeps back in. It's like, I knew it. I'm not going to get it. I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
Who's going to want me? I don't want me. Self-worth is something that is a demon, to be honest, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
If you don't understand and appreciate your worth and that you're a piece to a puzzle without which the whole puzzle is incomplete, then you will constantly be circling the drain.
True.
Trying to figure out what your purpose is, what you are. First of all, to know who am I? What do I stand for? Forget about what you've done in the past. Who are you? So thank God we got the job. Started traveling the country. We started traveling the country and it was amazing. It was, I keep on saying life is so unpredictable. We don't know where, how long we'll be there. But if my day is to come, that experience, shooting Zurura, gave me the whole Vene Vidi Vici experience.
Wow.
I came, I saw, I conquered.
Right.
I did things that I would never in a million years have done or afforded. And these are things that nobody can take away from me.
True.
And when I got on air and people would start saying, my God, you're a natural. This is something I didn't even go to school for. You're a natural. You're really good. You're good. You're good. You're good. You're good. You're good. So the conversation that started happening in my head started changing from you're worthless, you'll never amount to anything, you'll never do anything, and there's always something is about to happen, something bad is going to happen, you're setting yourself up. So all the self-doubt started washing away.
Right.
And then when we got nominated for the Kalasha Award, then that too. I was like, wait, me?
Yes.
Me? Hello, Hellen Ashiko Mbune. Me? Me? Are you sure? Yeah, you.
Wow.
And even though we didn't win,
still being nominated is
it
big.
was huge for me.
Yes.
It was so huge. And we finished shooting 13 wonderful episodes, traveled across the country in such adverse situations. Because remember, we were in the heart of COVID. So travel restrictions had been put in place. As in so many things, this one we need like 3 hours.
Yeah.
Nick and I need to sit down and we just tell them, oh my God, all the things that we had to go through.
Yeah.
But the work ethic jumped in and I knew this is, that's when I knew this is what I want to do.
Right.
This is my purpose.
Yeah.
Because all along you'd always keep on feeling like, okay, I would like to, but am I really cut out for this? We're talking about getting into a cave that is full of bats. Talking about bungee jumping and skydiving and swimming in the ocean and doing things that Helen behind the desk
would have never done.
And hanging around with snakes.
Wow. So, but the thing is, this then led to your Dadas Show
Yes,
gig,
yes.
right?
Yeah.
And now you're permanently transitioned into being in front of a camera.
I don't know how I'm doing now. You tell me how I'm doing
I
so
think you're
far, you
doing
know?
excellent. I think you're absolutely doing
You tell me
excellent.
how I'm doing so far
Yeah.
because that's it. That's why but every single thing that I
Mm-hmm.
experienced, both good and bad,
Mm-hmm.
but especially bad,
Mm-hmm.
led me closer to where I am right now.
Yes. Yeah.
Every single, and I saw something that said, my failure led to my success.
Yeah.
And that thing resonated with me so hard.
Mm-hmm.
Because if it was not the constant leaving the job, the vicious cycle, I would have never, the nervous breakdown,
Yeah.
I would have never gotten to a point of realizing that perhaps this is not for me.
Yes.
Perhaps this is not my calling.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps there's an issue. Perhaps there's an emotional issue that I need to delve into,
Right.
that I need to figure. I would have never gotten there
Mm-hmm.
if it wasn't for the fact that COVID came around.
Mm-hmm.
I would have never given the day or time, to my wonderful, former director.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wouldn't have gotten there.
Yeah.
If it wasn't the Kalasha, nominations and stuff like that, and the confidence that I got for people watching me on TV and telling me, you know what, this is what you're supposed to do, this is what you're born to do, you're doing something, I would have never been confident enough to actually apply,
Yes.
because Zarura sort of formed me.
Yeah.
The Dadas Show, I had to apply,
Right.
and and I got there feeling cocky because I had the, post
Mm-hmm.
Kalasha Award glow,
Mm-hmm.
and I found women there.
Yeah.
Woo! And we were supposed to mimic an interview,
Uh-huh.
and we sat down, and I thought I'm doing great because I interviewed so many people on Zarura, and I finished, and I, sort of one of those ones that you're gonna, yeah, that's how it's done,
Yeah. Yeah.
And the girl who sat right after me, my God, she aced it. Oh Lord, she was good. She was
Wow.
really good. And I remember feeling the sinking feeling like, oh God, what have I done? What have I done? And that goes to tell people about preparedness.
Yeah.
I hadn't really sat down and prepared for that interview. I was just like, you know what? I'm me. They can do, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when they called for the second one, oh, I was ready.
Yeah.
I had been staying up all night. I had read ahead. And that now I felt like, okay, yeah,
You
out of the park.
and here you are.
And here I am.
So I have one final question.
Yes.
Would you finally say that you are happy? You're in a good space?
In a good space, yes.
Excellent.
Happy is a continuous. It's not linear.
Yeah.
It's a continuous process for me.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot ever say, but yes, actually, yes, I am happy. Sometimes it's very dangerous to say, oh my God, I'm ecstatic. See, a journey to recovery,
Mm-hmm.
a journey on self-awareness and healing from traumas that you've experienced has its ups and downs. But
True.
keyword is the journey. It's never the destination. It's the steps by steps you take.
Yes.
So what I do is I do the alcoholic serenity prayer.
Okay.
And I pray for every single day. And
Mhm.
I say today, as I'm walking out today,
Mm-hmm.
I hope that this is going to be a good day. But there are definitely days that are bad.
Yeah.
There are days that you sit and you reflect on your past and you're
Mhm.
not too happy about some of the choices that you made, and you know that it is something that is going to follow you and haunt you for the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, with the kind of help that you get from therapy, which I always advocate for anybody, it doesn't mean
Yes.
that you're cuckoo.
Mm-hmm.
Just means that the same way you'd go to a doctor because you have a toothache is the same way, just to. So help of therapy, help of friends, reading a lot,
Mhm.
Focusing on the positive, surrounding yourself with positive people,
Yes.
positive energy. Guys, I cannot insist that more. Positive energy.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like throwing terms narcissistic and
Yeah,
toxic around because I feel like Nairobians are sort of sometimes
Yeah.
misusing them.
Yeah.
But there are certain people who are like that.
Yeah.
So be very careful and boundaries.
Yes.
So for me to be able to maintain the kind of happiness and the space I'm in right now, I have been very, very jealous
Mm-hmm.
about who I let into my space.
Yes.
And of course, that didn't get very good responses.
Yeah.
Oh, she's on TV right now, so she feels like she's on top of the world. I'm
Yeah.
not there. Boy, guy. Still have the same set of, still hustling, still doing this.
Yeah.
But I've just very intentionally said that I'm only going to let people into my space who are going to build me up.
Amen.
And
Yeah.
see, I can equally be toxic.
Yeah.
I could be with someone and we become toxic together.
Mhm.
So self awareness teaches you to be very cognizant about what you're doing, how it has an effect on you and others and the environment around you.
Mhm.
And just constantly having your eye, very intentionally, very purposely, having your eye on what your goal is.
Yes.
My
Yes.
goal is not my failures. My failures do not define me, but
Yeah.
my failures got me to where I am right now.
Which is an excellent, excellent, excellent way to put it. So, finally, where can we catch your show? KBC, what time, what day?
Oh, okay, fantastic. So my show is called The Dadas Show.
Mm-hmm.
It airs every single Sunday at 4 p.m. on KBC Channel 1. We also have all the previous episodes on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
We always encourage, it's an interactive show. So if there's any woman who feels like
Mm-hmm.
she needs to share a story, something that is going to be very, very, is going to be purposeful, is going to help women and young girls around the country and around the world, then they can definitely reach us at KBC Channel 1. Then you can tell them I sent you.
On that
Yeah.
note, let me tell you, this has been the most fun interview I have ever done. Thank you so much.
Yay!
Thank you so much for your
Yay!
time and your
Thank you.
wisdom.
Thank you so
Right?
much for having me.
Please make sure you catch up with her Sunday, 4 p.m. And in the meantime, we will see you next week for another one just like this one.
Yay.